Russia announces that it will give Syria the necessary equipment within the framework of destroying chemical weapons. Units of the Syrian Arab Army maintain control in most neighborhoods in al-Nabek and destroy armed dens in Aleppo and Idlib. Syria celebrates the World Day of Voluntary Work by holding different activities. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Irado Krikorian from the Syrian Arab Television. Russia's permanent representative to the UN, Churckin, has said his country will provide Syria with the equipment necessary for taking certain measures within the framework of the chemical weapons elimination process. Churckin added that this would solve the problem of the storage of materials needed by the chemical weapons mission in Syria. Churckin called on the UN Security Council's members to pressure the armed groups in Syria to refrain from carrying out acts that may obstruct the process. In Aleppo, the Syrian Arab Army has thwarted an attempt by terrorists to attack al-Kindi hospital, killing and injuring several gunmen. The Syrian army troops have also foiled an attempt to detonate two booby-trapped cars in the surroundings of the hospital. Syrian Arab Army units completely eliminated terrorist gangs who had committed acts of looting and assaults against citizens in al-Ashrafiyya, Salah ad-Din and Bustan al-Qasr, as well as in ancient Aleppo, and destroyed their hideouts in 7 other areas. In Idlib countryside, units of the Syrian Arab Army clashed with terrorist groups affiliated with the so-called the Islamic State in Syria and Iraq, killing and wounding dozens of them in Armanaz and Harim. In Damascus countryside, Syrian Arab armed forces conducted a qualitative operation during which they targeted a terrorist den full of weapons and explosives in Aliyah farms in Douma city, killing and wounding scores, including non-Syrians. The army also ambushed and eliminated an armed terrorist group in the eastern mountains of Az-Zabadani. Syrian Arab Army continues to chase armed terrorist groups in the city of al-Nabek in Damascus countryside, maintaining control on most neighborhoods.
Units of the Syrian Arab Army eliminated members of armed terrorist groups in the city of al-Nabek and pounded their positions in al-Arqub al-Saqi farms, al-Zuraybiyat and al-Miftah neighborhood northeast of the city. Local residents described the situation inside al-Nabek as being very bad.
The city of al-Nabek was a ghost city, controlled by armed terrorists from different nationalities.
The terrorists look like strangers who grow long hair and beards and speak in foreign accents. The terrorists kept us without food for many days.
The situation has become much better after the army entered the city and started distributing bread to the population. The armed terrorist group prevented food and medical supplies from entering the city.
Snipers occupied rooftops and broke into civilian houses, stealing and destroying everything.
A military source said that the military operation in al-Nabek has entered its final phases, affirming that the operation has been successful so far and resulted in the killing of a large number of terrorists. The source added that the terrorists are in a state of panic as the army destroyed their dens and hideouts with weapons and ammunition inside them.
Iraqi police in Dayali has been able to dismantle and capture the members of 7 terrorist cells believed to have been involved in barbaric acts, an operation described as dealing a painful blow to al-Qaeda terrorist organization. The terrorists admitted detonating cars, slaughtering families and targeting security and civil centers. The Iraqi borders guards have meanwhile repelled terrorist groups who had tried to infiltrate from Syrian lands into the Iraqi al-Qaim province, forcing them to flee. Following armed clashes in al-Fallujah, the police in the city have been able to kill Omar Ismail Awad, the emir of al-Qaeda organization, who had received death sentences 7 times together with his assistants and 2 of his followers. In Yemen, military officials said today that a suicide bomber had detonated his explosives-laden car at Yemen's defense ministry, killing 20 soldiers and wounding at least 40 others. As many as 12 gunmen also have been killed in a firefight between Yemeni troops and a carload of attackers who arrived minutes after the blast, apparently in a bid to take over the complex in downtown Sana'a. The gunmen were armed with assault rifles, hand grenades and rocket-propelled grenades. The explosion bore the hallmarks of al-Qaeda, whose chapter in Yemen is considered among the world's most active. The world celebrates Volunteers' Day under the auspices of the UN in a gesture to consolidate international solidarity through organizing rallies and donations.
The 5th of December is not like any other day in the year. It is the International Volunteer Day, which was designated by the United Nations in 1985 as an international observance day to celebrate the power and potential of voluntary work. A day for all volunteers and voluntary organizations around the world to raise awareness and gain understanding for the contribution they make to their communities. Voluntary work is found in all cultures, languages and religions. Each year, hundreds of millions of people volunteer their time and skills to help make the world a better place to live in. On the 5th of December, people around the world celebrate IVD with rallies, parades, volunteer fairs, group cleanups, blood donations, conferences, exhibitions, fundraising, workshops, and volunteer recognition events.
Volunteerism is not a new concept in Syria. Most of us participated in several volunteering work while we were at schools, universities. We joined volunteering camps, cleanups campaigns. We remember the Youth Volunteer Conference that was held in 2007 under the patronage of Her Excellency the First Lady. The forums, the conferences were held to promote volunteerism concept in Syria. As the crisis started, we witnessed huge and increased initiatives and volunteering work. At the beginning, they were to unify people to support the government. So there were marshals everywhere raising the Syrian flags, blood donations, cleanups campaigns, and it covers the different fields and sectors: culture, economy, social, and development. As the crisis continued, the priorities and needs have been changed, and that was reflected also on the volunteering work. So the priority was to provide humanitarian aid to internally displaced people, and whether in shelters or outside shelters. And at the same time, there were initiatives to cover the development sector. So there are vocational trainings, the vocational trainings, and charity bazaars, exhibitions for the products of the community and the affected people, so they can be productive more than being dependent people. When you volunteer, you raise your sense of belonging to community. When you volunteer, you participate in community development. When you volunteer, you practice your social responsibility towards your society. Let's celebrate and memorize the day of the 5th of December. Let's celebrate the International Volunteer Day.
The 5th of December is the World Day of Voluntary Work. On this occasion, the Syrian Scientific Olympiad National Commission held a voluntary day today that included a workshop entitled "Voluntary Work is an Extension of Citizenship through Consecrating Affiliation and Promoting Social Participation in Development." As voluntary work aims at presenting benefit to others and deepening the concept of voluntary work in the scientific and cultural domains, the distinguished participants in the Syrian Scientific Olympiads have chosen to convey their fruitful experiences to their colleagues, the participants in the competitions of the Olympiad's new season. The idea has started in the southern region and is to be generalized later in other governorates to acquaint the new generation of the Olympiad's distinguished students with the nature of the national project and its various activities. And now over to latest business and market news, but after a short break. Stay tuned.